Okay, everybody, here we go. Here we freaking go again. Anyway, it's Thursday, January 13th, 2022. Let's start off right here with economic news that we got this morning. First time unemployment claims blew past estimates, coming in at another 230,000. The estimate was for 200,000. Still an astronomical number, but we went right through it, and no one can figure it out. They just don't understand it because our economy is doing so great. We are so strong. Let me tell you what is doing so great and so strong with regard to news, with regard to the market. So let's talk about this. You're not even going to believe this. This is pretty epic. So profit for S&P 500 companies, companies that are part of the S&P 500, profits are higher by nearly 50% last year. 50%. Meanwhile, the average guy and the average girl is struggling to just get by here with inflation out of control. Now let's talk more about that because we got some more information on the inflation front here. So sit down for this. Wholesale prices just hit a 12-month high, a new record. Producer prices also continue to surge. And it's very disturbing to me to hear the fake propaganda narrative that inflation is peaking, it's going to start getting better. Nothing, and I mean nothing, people, can be further from the truth. I want you to start paying more attention to one thing. Okay, what is that one thing? The deception. The grand deception that I spoke about yesterday. I explained to you that the Federal Reserve, along with some of our policymakers, are attempting to convince you that by the Federal Reserve raising rates, it's going to somehow curb or slow down inflation. Let me put this to you as directly as I possibly can. It's not going to happen. There is no possible way it can happen. It's more of the same. Look here. Don't look here. How many times have you heard me explain that to you? That's what they always do. They want to keep you focused on one thing, try to convince you that that one thing is going to fix everything. Meanwhile, a whole other set of things are going on over here. The Federal Reserve is going to continue to inflate. We all know that. The Federal Reserve is going to continue to issue more debt in historic amounts moving forward. The Federal Reserve is going to continue to funnel dollars around the world to central banks around the world who are buying assets with the dollars. Again, I've spoke about this so many times. I believe that's the biggest secret in the history of the financial world, what the Federal Reserve is actually doing off balance sheet. You all know that. Okay. With regard to a taper, there is no taper. There will be no meaningful rate hikes moving forward, and the Federal Reserve will continue to issue debt. There will be no meaningful runoff of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. In fact, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet is going to balloon even higher. So again, the distraction is very simple. The deception is very simple. Try to convince people that the Federal Reserve is really concerned about inflation, and now they're ready to do something about it. Now that we've hit, an inflation rate of 7%, they had their 2% target. No one's being held to account, but imagine Greg Mannarino's shock. I can only imagine your shock here. So you're going to hear from more Fed presidents, policymakers who are going to deceive you even more. Try to tell you that by the Fed raising rates, they're going to slow inflation. Not going to happen in any way, shape, or form. And I think that's the biggest lie right now that is being propagated by the propaganda ministry itself. So anyway, off the back of abysmal, absolutely shocking economic news, again, another 230,000 people applying for first-time unemployment benefits last week blowing past estimates, which was 200,000, on top of wholesale prices now surging higher to a 12-month record, a new record high, producer prices continuing to surge higher. On the back of all this, stock futures are higher, pointing towards a higher open. This certainly could change, but let's look at the dynamics of the market. Trading didn't start for about 30 minutes. You got a stable debt market, 10-year yield looking okay, dollar weaker right now, crude oil, WTI over $82 a barrel. It's not a bad setup for the market, okay? So again, going back to what I've explained to you, which feels to me like time immemorial, it's not going to stop. The market realizes participants in this market, people who know what they are looking at, realize that the gap between what the stock market is doing and what the economy is doing is going to continue to get wider. I've shown you this movement here for probably a decade, okay, explaining to you the stock market would continue higher as the economy continues to free fall, period, the end. And that is exactly what's going on here. And there's no end in sight. And it's by design. I think you realize that it's a massive wealth transfer effect that is going on right now. Again, S&P 500 companies, their profits are soaring. They're skyrocketing here. Meanwhile, we're in the end stages of a wipeout of the entire middle class on a global level. This is a new demographic. I'm telling you, and I've told you this for a very long time, we are seeing extreme haves, extreme have-nots. We got people here in the middle class who used to be members of the middle class, trying to claw themselves up to wherever they used to be by continuing to borrow at a record pace. It's a terrible thing to see people suffer, but that's exactly what is going on. And we're not even close to being done, especially with this new grand deception going on, trying to convince people that relief is in sight. There is no relief in sight. People, this should be clear to you. The floodgates of inflation have been opened. They've been opened. And I have told all of you from many years ago that once this happened, once those floodgates were opened, there would be no way to stop it. Again, what's the situation? This is, economics 101. We have all of these extra bills in whatever form they may exist. Mostly it's digital. The Fed continues to add digits to a screen every day to inflate the debt, okay? Now that the floodgates have been opened here, we have all of these extra bills in whatever form they exist now chasing the same or fewer amount of goods. I mean, with manufacturing falling off of a cliff, factory activity, there are less goods. Henceforth, the real reason why you are seeing, shortages here. Oh, but it's COVID. It's because of COVID, because the mainstream media is telling you, and the Federal Reserve is telling you that it's COVID that is causing inflation. It's not the fact that they are on a money creation binge unlike the world has ever seen. And this is all by design. This whole environment of inflation right now is not by accident. It's a way to put pressure on whatever's left of the middle class so they can finish what they started. This whole new demographic is part of the Fed's plan to become the lender and buyer of last resort. Creating a system of feudal overlords. That's what this is. So I hope you're waking up to the fact that you are in some kind of a horror show. And it's really the truth. Anyway, let's move on to some other assets. Cryptocurrencies right now, flat-ish. Bitcoin still around 44,000. Gold was under a little pressure last time I looked. Silver was about flat. The relative strength of the dollar or the Dixie was lower. The MMRI, I know you're paying attention to the MMRI, link in the description of this video, has come down. It's still in moderate risk territory, but it's lower. There is not a single red flag out here with regard to anything major about to hit this market. Again, understanding that the driver of the market is the debt market. The debt market, although it is a monster and is going to swallow the earth at one particular time, there's no doubt about it, it remains in some kind of a gleeful state right now, and that is causing the stock market to continue its march higher no matter what gets thrown at it. I mean, no amount of bad economic news. In fact, the economic news, the worse it gets, the higher the stock market is going to go. This is a phenomenon that you and I have seen now for a very, very long time. It's just not going to stop. Again, if you ignore what the propaganda ministry is trying to tell you, that our economy is booming, they float out these freaks who are paid shills to tell you that our economy is fantastic, it's booming. We even had President Bidenstein, as in Frankenstein, because the man's a zombie, trying to convince you yesterday that the skyrocketing inflation numbers that we got yesterday, what they are showing is his economic plan is working. Really? Like I explained to you, if you're brain dead and you believe other people are brain dead, well, maybe you can convince them of that. But for those of us who have a functioning brain, even one functioning brain cell, we can see straight through the dog shit, through the garbage and nonsense. People, look, I'm going to tell you this again. Right now, we're in this thing together. There's no doubt about it. But it's every man and every woman for himself, and we need to stick together. What we are seeing here is deliberate. What we are seeing here is not going to stop. So you must take action. You must take action. I don't know another way to tell you this. I've been explaining this like forever now. Bet against the debt. Become your own central bank. Let JP Morgan play their games with the metals market. Everyone knows who's doing it. They've been caught time and time again rigging or suppressing the price of precious metals, and all they do is pay a fine over and over and over again. Now, you and I, we are not holding anti-debt units like physical gold, physical silver, and yes, cryptocurrencies, because we're expecting them to skyrocket during the current environment. Oh no, that's not why I'm holding these things. Greg Mannarino is holding these things because he realizes that we're going to get a massive movement of cash from one set of assets into another at one particular time. And this is how we keep ourselves hedged. Once the risk-on environment that we are in currently changes, and it will. Markets do run in cycles. Risk on, risk off, risk on, risk off. But this one, when this market flips from risk on, meaning cash going into equities, to risk off, cash going into commodities, and I believe in cryptocurrencies, that's going to be by design too, and it's just going to be a massive wealth transfer on an incredible scale. And it's going to happen extremely rapidly. But again, we know where to look. We know where the signs are. We know where the big sign is, and that is in the debt market. By watching the MMRI, by keeping your eye on the 10-year yield, by watching the relative strength of the dollar or the Dixie, if we just look at these few things, we will know without guessing when we should really be hunkered down and ready for this thing to, flip in a massive way. So this, you and I, we're sitting pretty. We're sitting pretty while you got all these people out here on YouTube speculating, oh, the crash is coming tomorrow on this date at this time. Oh, yeah, I know it because the Bible says so. People are doing that. There is one guy doing that. I think you know who I'm talking about. Or other guys out here who are not even in the market saying, oh, the market's going to crash this month. Oh, yeah, make sure you click on my video. That's what it's all about. And it's working. They're getting people hooked on this, and they've kept people out of the market for years. And like I have said, I think it's a crime that these people have not allowed their throngs of followers to capitalize on the biggest bull run that we've ever seen. But it's not done yet. It's not too late for you to laugh at these people, which I hope you do. Because they're wrong 100% of the time with regard to the market. Okay, with regard to some other things, yes, I agree with these people. They understand that you must be in hard assets, anti-debt units. Okay, I'll give them that. But they have robbed their followers blind by not allowing them to participate in, again, the biggest bull run the world has ever seen. It's a shame to me because I want everybody to win. And I'm not a one-trick pony. I don't want you to be a one-trick pony, nor do I want you to blow ponies, if you know what I'm talking about. Look, I'm sorry I sit here and I pick on people sometimes, but it bothers me. It really does bother me because there's no reason for it. There's no reason why followers of those people had to lose out on a fortune. Let's be honest with each other. In an environment that is collapsing around them. It's a shame. It really is. Really is a shame. All right, look, this guy here loves all of you a lot, and I will never let you down. You're always going to be on the right side of the market if you listen to me. I've kept all of you out here on the right side of this for a very long period of time, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to lose. So that means you're not going to lose either. I'm out of here. I'll see you later.